are watching on YouTube, don't be mistaken, we are not at some sort of summer soiree. They are Mark Redding's legs in front of you. He is in shorts. It is the Shelter's Summer of Sour, not Mark Redding's. But we are both here for the Shelter FootyCast. G'day, Skeet. How are you, mate?
Hello, Scully. Yes, these legs, actually, they're good female legs, apart from all the hair on them. And, although I've got a few scars after a knee reconstruction. But no, they're not great pins. I'm not proud of them. But sometimes you just got to be who you are when you get past the age of 50, Scully, and you'll get there one day.
Oh, don't worry, I'll get there, mate. You're looking good, mate. Don't take it too hard too much. You can follow us on socials. If you want any of our links, they are at Shelter FootyCast over on Instagram. Scared to get your daughters to follow us, please.
Yep.
FootyCast at shelterbrewing.com.au if you want to send us an email. You can find us on YouTube as a podcast. You know what the deal is. Shelter's Summer of Sour. Now, we've had a bit of a request come in from one of our listeners, Skeeter. We've been going on about this for a little bit. We're challenging the way people drink their beer, maybe swap to a sour. We're still yet to get a review from you, Skeeter.
It'll happen this week. I promise you. That is my commitment to you, the team at Shelter, and our listeners.
There's some requests coming in from listeners, and it's to do with this. So I've been talking about the Victor lawnmower that's up for grabs. And we are doing a bit of a live show at Shelter in about a month's time.
Can't wait.
Be close to the public because we are frightened of the overwhelming influx of people that may come if we know that Mark Redding's in board shorts. We'll be doing a podcast at Shelter. But this may actually tip the scales. We've had a request. Could we get Mark Redding's mowing the lawn out the front of Shelter with the Victor mower when the boys are down doing the podcast? Can we arrange that? You don't have to do. You've seen the lawn patch. It's quite a big lawn patch.
As long as someone can actually start it for me, because I'm not that great. I've got a lawnmower who does my gardening, so I don't tend to head in that direction.
I think maybe that's why the request has been put out there, Scatter, to see what you can do, because it's a big patch down there.
Oh, no. This is going to be a massive stitch up. I'm going to look like a tool, but that's, I guess, my role in these promotions.
Okay. Just a reminder, we are going on to a new feed here at Shelter FootyCast. So on Monday, keep your eyes out. There will be a Shelter FootyCast feed on Spotify, on Apple, whatever you listen to your podcasts. We're going to be making it nice and easy for you, though. So don't worry. You don't have to do too much. Just keep your eyes out. I'll remind you again Monday. You can still listen to it where you're listening right now. We're going to have a bit of a switchover period, Skate. I know this is going straight over your head.
No idea what you're talking about.
But you can find us exactly where you find us right now, and we're going to give you some directions on Monday. Just another little reminder. You are here on the Shelter FootyCast. Will Schofield, Mark Reddings. Now, a couple of big moments that we haven't been able to discuss, and the biggest, of course, is in the footy realm, which we love to talk about things we know. Nat Fyfe, no longer the captain of Freo.
And I'll take us back a week. If someone said to you that Luke Shuey to be captain and Nat Fyfe to be captain in 2023, I'm tipping you and I, or certainly myself, I thought, yep, that sounds about right. Fyfe to go around one more time, one more year, that would not be surprising. In fact, surely you certainly didn't suggest that he was stepping down.
No, I don't. I think I've been influenced. So, fortunately, on 6PR, I got to chat to Fyfey on Fyfey. I'm not sure why I'm calling him Fyfey. Matt Fyfe on the night that he retired. So, Adam Papalera and I, it was such a great chat. Like he was so open, so honest, which you can't really say he hasn't been in the media. But I think as captain, as that. That symbolic leader of the club, I think you've got to hold something back. And it was almost like I just really felt it was I came away thinking, gee, that is the best thing he's done. Without seeing what he's been able to do with his body and his fitness and the way he's playing, he just seemed like at ease, so at ease with the decision. He wasn't put on. I saw some stuff running around in the West saying that he'd been given the arse. Like, I'm a good reader of people, Skate. I'm not good at many things, but I think I can read people. I can just hear in his voice, he was so relieved he's talking about a bit of a burden and being captain and the ability to be able to focus it forward. I just think he's right at ease with it. Maybe we couldn't have predicted it, but I think it's the right decision for him and the football club.
Yeah, I agree. And look, the question is, just on reflection, was he a good captain? Was he a great captain? I guess the recurring theme, and this is probably very harsh on Nat, but I guess the perception is, without knowing him all that well, is as a captain, was it more about, some of the critics saying, brand Fyfe as opposed to Captain Fyfe? Was he more concerned about him, what he was doing, and obviously he's got business interests, etc. Was he invested enough, maybe early in his tenure as captain, in what others were doing at the club? I think you touched on that in your interview about not probably heading down that path, possibly because, and this might be a lesson or maybe a warning to what Fremantle does next with their captain. He was 25 or thereabouts, and at the age bracket where his focus was, if I can play my best footy and obviously be the best I can, then they'll come along for the ride. But captaincy is a broad-ranging role.
Yeah, there's a few topics there, right? So 25 doesn't seem that young, but it's still young, and especially he'd won a Brownlow. They were on the, that was off the back of their finals run, and they were down the bottom of the ladder. So he comes in, he's the best player, and he thinks, if I play well, we play well. And he felt like any time that the Freo Dockers were going to play well, he had to be the guy. And so not only does that, to be able to do that, quite honestly, you have to be selfish. And that doesn't go hand in hand with being a good captain. That's not saying Nat Fyfe's a selfish guy. I think he was a young player. He was the best player in the side, and he was doing what he thought was right. And sometimes you don't get it right the first time. And he very much admitted that learn a lot of lessons along the way. He spoke about some of the younger guys he's helped develop. A lot of the young guys move into his house when they come to the footy club. Like, just my experience at West Coast, those sorts of players where, a new kid comes over to Victoria and they go, yeah, can come stay with me. They're leaders. Like, they're proper leaders.
Because that's not an easy thing to do, to invite someone into your house, albeit he's a teammate to be, but it disrupts your life. Whatever you say, it disrupts your life.
So he went through a list. So he had Alex Pearce, he had Brayshaw, he had Sarong, he had all the young guys come and live with Fifey for a bit. So Luke Shuey is a guy that does that at West Coast. And just hearing him speak again, I came away incredibly impressed, full of respect. And I think Nat Fyfe stepping down to put the Fremantle Football Club in a better position to win a premiership says all that needs to be said about his leadership. I mean, if he's a selfish leader, if it's all about Fifey, he would say, I'm going again, which he hasn't.
No, but I think he admits early on he didn't get it right, as you've just touched on. I think he's marked quite harshly in this, maybe not just this state, but just as a knockabout bloke. He's not one of those guys that you think you go and have a beer with, and he keeps to himself a little bit, to my knowledge. I don't know him that well, but his footy record speaks for itself. I think you're right. What he's done here to bring through the next skipper at a very important time for the club, because it's not like they're floundering. They are almost in the window. And the selfish part of any captain would say, geez, we're a chance this year. And imagine standing on a podium, giving us our best chance and being a captain of a premiership team, which is now actually a realistic thought.
Well, he spoke about the dream he had to be Fremantle's first premiership captain, and that won't happen anymore. But the ability to take yourself away from that dream and say, right, the best thing is to be a forward and not a midfielder, be a senior player and not a captain, he's going to be more important to Freo in those roles than he would have been as captain, in my opinion. They have leaders, they have guys that can step up, and it probably pushes us into the next conversation: who's the next captain? The quote that I took out of Fifey, we asked him directly. He didn't want to speak about it. He didn't want to put any pressure on anyone, but he did say it's a short list. He said basically those words: it's a short list, but a good list. So I would think that means Pearce, Sarong, Brayshaw.
Yeah, I think
there's no one else.
That's your trifecta.
Yep.
And you've got a clear distinction between one and the other two in terms of age, experience in Alex Pearce and what he brings to the table. At the other end of the spectrum, you've got Brayshaw, reigning Doig medalist, 23 years of age to my knowledge, 100 games under his belt, looks tailor-made to go. Next to him, Caleb Sarong. I think Caleb might turn 22 today. Even I'll get Dan to have a check on that. But I've done a couple of functions with him. Speaks incredibly well. The only knock is he's played 50-odd games. Is he just a couple of seasons shy of being the captain, whereas Brayshaw looks like almost in the sweet spot. And bear in mind, I know he was one of the great captains of all time, but John Worsfold appointed captain at the age of 22 back in the early 90s.
Off the back of the best and fairest.
So Caleb Strong, 22 today, 9th of Feb.
Happy birthday, Caleb.
There you go. Got it right.
Shit.
A really nice kid, lovely, speaks well, definite leadership. Put it this way, if you ask the question, I think Brayshaw goes in with Sarong and Pearce as his deputies.
I think Pearce goes in. purely because that's what I'd like to see. I don't know them as leaders. I don't really know them that well as blokes. I probably know Alex Pearce the best out of the three of them, and from my dealings, comes across as a great leader. But unless you're in the four walls, you can't actually speak to their leadership, because a lot of that leadership is on field. A lot of that leadership is behind the four walls. You just won't ever see it. So as much as a couple of battlers like you and I can...
We're going on aesthetics, aren't we?
Correct. Correct. So if we go on aesthetics in that nature, I just think a player like Brayshaw has just been MVP of the league, best and fairest winner. I think you got to let him play. Again...
But hang on. It's his choice.
I don't think putting him as captain... I don't, right at this moment, I don't think that's the best thing for Freo. And that's not saying he won't be captain. I think Alex Pearce as an interim one would be a better choice.
Is there any concern, or Beattie's put some footy together over the last year or two, about Alex's continuity being out there, which has been an issue?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, in the end, he played a lot of games last year, Alex Pearce, and I mean, there's times where you're going to turn it around, aren't you? So I don't know. I just list profile. I think the Dockers would be scared of putting in a young kid like a Brayshaw or a Sarong and it affecting their footy, because those two players will take them to the next premiership. So if you make the wrong call, if it's the wrong call, you could put that in jeopardy.
Well, I'd take a different stance, going a bit like the John Worsfold. If you can back the character of the person, their ability to, you're right, there's a question mark. Can they maintain their form on match day? I think for Fremantle, a young list, take them through with a young captain who can handle what comes his way. I think, and being a bit cynical about Brayshaw and Sarong being from the East Coast, that other element of, we want you here for 10 years. And that's why I just think Brayshaw is, again, we're speaking from outside the bubble, he's ready. I think it'd be great to have Alex Pearce in support in a leadership role, but you're going Pearce, I'm going Brayshaw with a bit of confidence. I think Brayshaw could do a really good job. I think he speaks well. I think he'll tick every box, and I think it's almost a statement from Fremantle. This is the path we're going on, and this young bloke, Pearce, as good as he is, this is our new generation. Like it, Skate. Good job. Good chat. On the other side of the ditch, sort of, West Coast, Josh Kennedy becomes an AFL Life member. So we'll go through a bit more detail, some of the other people anointed around him, but it just puts another feather in the cap of, I think I've said he's the greatest Eagle of all time. I know you've argued the point, but I could definitely hear an argument. But yeah, no, I think we've discussed. Yeah, who's the best Eagle that you've seen or played with, and you're going with JK. Yeah. Yeah, there's got he's right up there with Worsfold, with Jakovic, Judd, all those guys. Yeah. So I don't know what you get for AFL Life membership. I think free entry to matches, I'm guessing. Yeah, you get that for 200, the 200 club. Okay, so it's 300, isn't it, for JK? So automatic entry is 300 games. And bear in mind, let's just quit. I mean, there's I think 4 tickets. There's a bunch of recipients, but Bruce McAvaney, who has done such a great job. I'm talking media landscape here, and Eddie Maguire, who has been outstanding for Collingwood, but has also had a terrific career. So congratulations to two guys. In fact, my dad worked in the Channel 10 newsroom back in the early 80s with Eddie and Bruce. So some nice synergy there, and two guys, as a media person, I deeply respect. Yeah, that's unreal. That's great additions. I think I'll have some more words on them a little bit later in the show. Indian Test starts today. Can't wait. I know you're not a test. No, I'm up and about. Okay, go Australia. Well, it is a big series. Steve Smith has said this is almost for us bigger than winning the Ashes. I'm going, hold the horse. What is going on with the pitch? What is going on, mate? They've got the cement rollers out there and they're pulling up half a length short on one side of the pitch. They've got both. It's almost on diagonally. So the left-handers of Australia, of which we have many. We have 6 of the top 8 are left-handers. Are going to be inconvenienced by a pitch area of the pitch which is already worn. So it's really fascinating to see. We're calling it pitch doctoring. The Indians, of course, are denying it, and somewhere in between is the middle. But we've got to be a bit careful, because we threw up a pitch at the Gabba going back to the start of the South African series where it was a green top. Bear in mind, South Africa's got a very good pace attack. But the match there was decided basically by the toss of the coin. Yeah, so that's different, I would have thought, to leaving one side of the pitch unrolled. I mean, everyone had to cop the green pitch of the Gabba. Yeah, it wasn't an inconsistent pitch. Oh, look, I think whereas the Indians have got the
They got the metal scrubbers out on one side and they're perfectly manicuring with a pair of scissors on the other side. Outrageous. They got 2 left-handers in their top 8, India, and Australia have 6.
Yeah.
I think it's outrageous, but I also, mate, I half like it, to be honest. Good on them.
Add some spice to the series.
Correct.
And you know what? What it does is the toss of the coin becomes so critical, which brings me to a point that has been knocked by many, and people say don't mess with the traditions of cricket. But Ricky Ponting had an idea he took to the ICC, and it was using county cricket, is that instead of Will Schofield, Mark Readings going out and tossing the coin at 11:30 this morning in Nagpur, I think both captains go out there at 11:30. This is Ricky's idea. And the touring captain, so the visiting captain, gets to choose whether to bat or bowl.
Every game.
Well, this is to try and stop pitches being doctored in terms. So you think of it. If you're trying to influence a match, Australia wins a toss today, and it's 50-50, so they still might win the toss and bat. But if you take that out of India's hands, the toss, and we know that Australia's going to win the toss, they're going to have a choice, you're not going to have such a raging turner because the team batting second is going to be up against it. So it's a theory. I know you're looking at it in the air.
I hadn't heard it before.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking.
Look, I'm not saying that is the answer. And end of the day, it's just the vagaries of playing on the subcontinent. But Ricky Ponting, who I respect immensely with these types of ideas, just trying to neutralise different nations just tailoring pitches to their batters or bowlers.
I feel like, again, this is the first time I've heard that, but I feel like the traditionalists would have your head on a stake for that.
That throttled me. But it did make
Know your role and shut your mouth.
Hang on, there's a difference here, Dashing Dan. Is that I actually follow cricket. I actually do follow cricket pretty closely. Scully's it'd be like me. We'll talk UFC. But that's.
Will you be able to see it from your box, the UFC? I mean, seriously.
Depends how much champagne I've got going down my throat. No, anyway, I think it went to the ICC. It was trialled in county cricket. Didn't get off the ground, but anyway, it's a talking point which we managed to roll through. And anything to try and neutralise what is blatant, not saying cheating, blatant doctoring of pitches is worth exploring.
Will Schofield, Mark Readings, Shelter FootyCast. We've done Fremantle. We've had a look at what they're doing with the captaincy. I don't think there's anyone else to throw in there. I do take your point though on the rising generation, like that young generation coming through. I can see a young captain working with that. I hadn't really heard that argument before, so if we just touch on that, I think that's a good point by you, Skate.
Thank you. No, well, it's a genuine feel that they're a young club. They've got a young coach. I don't know. Not that Alex Pearce, 27, he's hardly out the door at the age of 33, 34. He's got some hopefully 5 years of footy left in him. But I don't know. I know from a marketing point of view, it's got a lot of ticks a lot of boxes having a Brayshaw, for instance.
The West Coast Eagles, big news down there. The Stevie Simpson Cup. Yeah. Now this was brought into a realm when I was at the footy club, and basically we're talking about doctoring. The Indian pitch in Nagpur. Well, down at City Beach there, Simo used to doctor these races so his dog could win. Look, the only reason that he made it was so Stevie, his eldest dog, could win. He had a fast dog. He said, let's do some team building. Let's have a dog race. Bring all your dogs down.
Did the players know that at the time that he had a quick canine?
I might correct. That's what I mean. I might be doctoring it a little bit, the story, but it's the Stevie Simpsons Cup. So Simo's dog's name was Stevie. It won the first 3 or something, and Simo just comes out and blitz everybody. He'd be training. I swear. He'd be training us during the day and training his dog during the night to win this cup. So it's a pretty good initiative, though, and it's now grown fair legs.
It's got more legs in the media than it should have, actually. Let's be honest.
But they're doing some stuff with charities now, Shannon Dog Park Home. But it shows Feb 9 or whatever the last week, early Feb, there's still not a lot happening in footy.
No, it's quiet. And that's where, had cameras down there. So they wait there. Juno told me this week, they wait there for an hour and a quarter.
Have you ever been down and covered it?
No, luckily I've sort of not had that honour. But the dog race happens. And, of course, you wait for so long. And the lure is to go and speak to Simo or a player for 3 minutes afterwards to be told what's happening.
So the reason I did bring it up, though, because I don't want to bang on about the dog race too much. The winner this year, Barney, was the winner.
Cal
Jamison's dog. So last week I spoke about my time down at West Coast and watched them train for a bit. And Cal Jamison was the standout for mine. He was the guy that just caught my eye. It was the eye test. He looked bigger. He looked stronger. He took a great mark, coming back with a flight. Played as a forward a lot. It looks like they're locking him in there. And I just keep seeing his name pop up in different, training. I think there could be real chance. He's having a really good
Round
crack
one?
at that second ruck. They're going to play a second ruck. They have to.
So round one, you expect him to play?
Well, I'm not going to go out and say that just yet, but he's certainly in the mix.
So you got him. You got Noah Long playing round one.
Yeah, I do. That's a lock.
Okay.
Jimby will play round one.
Yes.
Hewitt will play round one.
Hewitt as well.
I reckon.
So
Hewitt out of those three would be third in line between those three, and then I think Bailey Williams and Cal Jamieson are fighting for the backup ruck spot, and they will have to take one in. Nick won't be able to play. They're not going to play Oscar Allen as the backup ruck. Jack Darling doesn't play ruck. They have to have that third tall. Jake Waterman, if he plays, he doesn't play ruck.
That's not your answer.
So you look at the West Coast makeup, they have to have a backup ruckman in there, and it's between Bailey Williams and Cal Jamieson. Now, I really rate Bailey Williams. I rate his potential.
What is he, sorry?
Athleticism.
This is no knock on him. What is Bailey Williams?
Forward. He should be a centre half forward.
Okay.
Big centre half forward, crashing packs, that high link guy, and then use his speed to get back out the back.
Can I say, I haven't seen him play enough footy to, but is there a bit of Ash Hansen about? Are you talking about that style? Not so much. Ash wasn't a crash pack player.
They've both got red hair.
But I'm talking about the lead up. Sort of, is he that sort of that engine?
So I mean, the reason I sort of cringe a bit is like Ash Hansen was almost the best I ever played on at.
Really?
Not as a forward, but at the craft of hitting up.
Yeah.
He just used to have. He was never the most agile. His nickname was Sheep's Knees. He used to have these knobbly knees running around. Ended up ending his career. Unfortunately, he's become a great coach. But he used to just do these little movements. Josh Kennedy did the same, where just in and out, and you'd just always be looking at him, bang, at the foot. You'd have 4 steps on you, and whereas Bailey doesn't have that. But what Bailey has is like elite speed. He's quick. He's a massive guy. He's huge, and he can jump, he can mark, he can run. He has all the attributes. He's just still trying to figure it out. He's still a young guy.
I reckon that term you've said there, figure it out.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to. You have explained it pretty well, but I'm still trying. I think fans are trying to figure out where he fits into the. He's just not a Josh Kennedy that comes onto the scene as a 20-year-old and starts kicking goals. He's just not that guy, and I hope West Coast continue to show confidence in him, because players like that need confidence. They need to go, you know what, we're going to play you, and we're going to put you in this position, and you're going to get a chance. We're not going to drop you after 1 week or 2 weeks. We're going to give you a crack, which that doesn't happen at AFL level, mind you, but that would be great to see. But I do think Cal Jamieson is more than a smoky to be playing round one. I think it's between those two as to who's that backup ruck. Going back to your original point, the Stevie Simpson Cup, did you have a dog to compete in those races?
Well, I've got 2. You might have heard one.
They're very quiet.
Oh, you might have heard one just before. We lock them in the bedrooms usually because they sleep on our bed. Great dogs, lovely with the kids.
What breed?
One's a you're a dog expert.
Well, I just want to know because it sums up the personality of a male, I reckon.
Okay, well I have 2. I have one who is a Lhasa Apso Terrier, and she looks quite similar to like a rat, like a rat that's crawled out of the tit somewhere. She's a beautiful dog.
Yeah.
She's just
Not very manly though.
No. And then I have a French Mastiff Staffy, and you wouldn't want to walk up in black into my backyard, put it that way.
Oh, okay.
Like genuinely, people who come out of the studio here, they have to ask me to go and shut the door. To not like you. I'm not even joking. So they're very mismatched. And I can't. Oh yeah. So they're not great with other dogs either. They're not. So.
Oh, this is great. Great family pets. By the sound of it.
They are. Man, they sleep in the kids' bed. But Ruby, the little one, I took her down one time. Didn't want to bar it. Absolutely not a bar. And I used to go down there and help other dogs. Couldn't be bothered. It's a shit show. So, if you wanted me to keep talking about, Simo has no dog control, right? So Simo used to bring his dog down to training, just let off the leash. We'll be training. There'll be a dog running around the fucking park. I'm not joking. Just control your dog, Simo. This is an ongoing joke.
Okay.
Never puts it on the leash. Never has no recall. Can't tell it. It just runs around doing whatever it wants.
I was just trying to work out as a bloke how it fits into your sort of
What
characteristics.
fucking dog do you have, Mark?
Mate, I've got a manly dog. I've got a little blonde cavoodle. And I love her dearly. Seriously. She sleeps on the bed as well now, which we've always said we'd never do, but fair dinkum. she just is so gorgeous. And you've got a Mastiff or a Pit Bull, whatever you've got. That would maul my little girl because she just walks up to anyone and says hello.
What's his name?
She's a Marley.
Sorry.
So I've got I live with all females, yeah.
Marley.
I had a female rabbit that died. So I'm just a bloke on an island punting and drinking on the weekend.
Oh, can we clip this up for us for some sort of promotional talk? I'm just a bloke on an island drinking and partying on the weekend. Talking about the weekend, upcoming, a couple of previews here in Perth. The Wildcats
Today.
into finals.
Well,
what is it? Play-ins.
It's play-ins.
Play-ins.
I didn't know what that meant, but it's let's say the pole season.
Yeah.
The pole season, because it's not officially the playoffs, as I understand it.
That's
but
ridiculous.
They need to beat South East Melbourne today to advance to the next knockout.
So it's like an elimination final.
Essentially.
One off.
Yes. Bryce Cotton coming off 7 points against Sydney, had a shocker, missed out on the MVP. Xavier Cooks, of course, got across the line. But Mitch Creek, who's another finalist, is the danger man for Perth today. I've said all along, Perth can't win it. I still maintain that. They could beat South East Melbourne. They were towed up 112 to 91, I think it was, less than a month ago. Their defence is still something that worries me.
Bryce Cotton needs to have a huge game.
Exactly. Yeah, they've all got to rise a bit, including Bryce will. You just know he's not going to put two shockers together. Wildcats can win, won't win the title. Have they made a successful season? Well, after missing last year, yes. Hutchie, I think, the most relieved man in WA last weekend.
It wouldn't have been. What about the Perth Glory? They play top of the table Melbourne City down at Macedonia Parks. If you're around, I'd head down to that. You see some good
fun.
soccer
I've been to a match there. It's really good atmosphere. 4,000 or 5,000. Melbourne City, good side. Really good side. Look, I think it's 8 matches in a row. Unbeaten. 2-2 against Newcastle. We were up 2-1. Should have won it. Defensive lapse late. So this team, and got to be honest, after a really poor start, which was a bit beyond their control because of travel, I think Coyne, our mate, and Ruben, the coach, have done a pretty good job, a very good job in getting a side up and running. Adam Taggart is the guy I think that adds that bit of silk.
Will Schofield, Mark Reddings, Shelter FootyCast. We're going to cover the AFL Life members and the Super Bowl after this. So, AFL Life membership, we spoke about Josh Kennedy off the top. There are some other guys that have been added and girls. Trent Cotchin from Richmond, Todd Goldstein, Paddy Ryder, Steele Sidebottom. They've all been included. So, there's automatic entry for 300 total AFL games. Now, that includes preseason games, I might add. So, I've played 194 AFL games, but I'm in the 200 club because it includes the Ansett Cup, the NAB Cup, all that stuff.
The Wizard Cup, all
that
stuff.
Yes, that's it. So they've been added, as you mentioned, Bruce McAvaney, Eddie Maguire, Lisa Hardiman.
Yep.
So she was involved in the AFLW.
Footy pioneer in the women's side, yep.
Yeah, so, I just wanted to quickly touch on some of these players. Trent Cotchin, still playing, obviously.
Is he in their best 22 this year?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I've seen our mate Kane Corns has been going.
I say best 22.
Well, Kane Corns says he's not, so it tends me to believe that he is. He's been training as a pure forward.
Yeah.
I just don't know what sort of role he'll play as a forward. He's probably doesn't have that nippiness that would worry a small defender.
But does he have the craftiness?
He's smart. He's smart. So I think you've got to play him as a high half forward that go and try to lose his opponent and do some of that stuff. But if he plays as a pure forward, then he probably is in their top 22.
He's got the
speaks for himself.
His record is outstanding.
3-time best and fairest, 11, 12, 14, premiership player in 17, 19, 20, premiership captain in all those years, I believe.
It's a fair resume.
So he's club captain he was club captain for 10 years. So, you're not saying goodbye to him. He's saying when he wants to leave, he can leave.
Which will be possibly at the end of this year.
Maybe. Todd Goldstein, 295 premiership games, 19 pre-season included in that, so that's why he gets over the line.
Yep.
Best and fairest, 2015, All-Australian, same year. He's going around again this year, I believe.
Yeah, and look, he's had some... Being at North the last 5 years, it's been hard yards, and I don't know how you'd cope with going through that type of environment, any footballer, where you're thinking, going into a season, everyone says, we can improve greatly, but deep in your heart, you think this is going to be tough.
Yeah, they'll have great expectation at North Melbourne with the changes they've made and some players that have come in and coaching staff that have come in. Hasn't been the off season. I don't imagine that they would have hoped for, but potentially they'll make a stand as a footy club, as we've spoken about with some of that Taron Thomas stuff that happened a few weeks back. And what can Kangaroos do? I don't think a lot this year, but
Win 8 games is a good result.
Maybe. I mean, it was a terrific result. I would have thought of coming off a wooden spoon. Josh Kennedy, as we mentioned, 2-time Coleman medalist, premiership player in 2018, 3-time All-Australian. I would have thought he was All-Australian more times than 3 times, but it's a difficult key position, key forward rankings. He's won 2 Coleman medals, so it means only one time outside the Coleman medals he was All-Australian. I thought he was maybe ranked better than that. He plays for West Coast. Need more Glenn Jakovic's on because he was 7-time leading goal kicker. 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 20.
I suppose you're up against key forwards. There've been some beauty, so maybe that. But a bit skinny on the All Australian front.
Paddy Ryder retires, leaving Rowan Marshall, who I think is going to have a massive year for St Kilda. He's going to be their most important player, Rowan Marshall. So Paddy retires. He played 281 premiership games, 26 preseason games. So he just gets over the line with 307. Best and fairest in 2017, All Australian in 2017, same year. He was always a great player, and used to find it really hard to match up on him as a forward. And the last player, still Sidebottom, still playing. He's been ever aging. He just never. I don't know. He looks like the same player every year in, year out. Same as Pendlebury.
No, you're right. And I suppose if there's one, apart from he's been a wonderful player for a long time, but Mark Hutchings must sit back at times and just put the chest out a bit further when he sees if Steele has a good game and see what he's done in his career and go, bang, biggest of occasions, he did the job.
He kept him to 12 touches in that 2018 premiership. In that year, he was best and fairest, Sidebottom, and All-Australian. So he was one of the best players in the competition and the best player at his footy club, basically. He was a premiership player in 2010, though, remember? So that was some time ago now. Yeah, and he would have been a young player then. But he's going very well, 289 premiership games. He'll get to 300 in the next 10 games. Before we finish up, Skeet, we've got to have a quick look at the Super Bowl.
Can't wait. I actually am really excited about this because you've got an amazing offensive team in Kansas City, albeit with Patrick Mahomes, who's been injured, but a fortnight off. This is the beauty, which I subscribe to in AFL as having the week off because there'll be a concussion in a prelim final. Anyway, we're talking Super Bowl. It's going to be the offense, I suspect, of what the Chiefs bring to the table.
Yep.
And we know that the Eagles are so good. Philadelphia is so good defensively.
Yeah, they are. I mean, there's been a lot of experts tipping a high-scoring game. I kind of agree. I think Kansas City's game style lends itself to it. They end up in shootouts all the time.
They give up points and they also score points.
Well, it's almost like ging it up. Well, we're going to be able to have a
score
chance
more
to
than
score.
you.
Yeah.
You know what reminds me of Geelong in the early 90s?
Yeah, that's a good point. Even like 2007 era, like when they won that flag against Port, they were just this attacking beast. So that's what the Chiefs are in AFL terms, and the Eagles are like the Sydney Swans, I think. They've got a really good defense. They've got a wide receiver called AJ Brown, who they got over from the Titans, I believe. Jalen Hurts is this active running quarterback, and he'll be exciting. He's good. Yeah.
But he came through and say he was not their first sort of choice selection as a quarterback, was he? Is it Foles going back in time?
Yeah, like they had Foles and who was the guy that got offset? Carson Wentz was there. So, but Jalen Hurts was pretty well regarded coming out of, I think he came out of Alabama and entered the league. And this year he's just been outstanding. Missed some games during the middle of the year with some concussion, I believe, but he is fit and healthy. So it'll be Mahomes v. Hurts. Some Aussies are playing. There always seems to be some Aussies.
Aaron Sipos, is he going to go?
So he's been injured. I don't know if they're bringing him in or not. He's been fighting an injury to come back. The word is he will be playing. So he's a punter. Was on St Kilda's list, or at least was training with them. And then Jordan
Mailata, big unit.
Yeah, big guy, offensive linesman. I think that could be.
Anyway, got a rugby league background and.
Correct.
It's a ripping story. I mean, any Australian that can be part of it. You know, Mitch Wishnowski was part of that as WA boy a couple of seasons ago.
He is an offensive linesman, so he's an offensive tackle. So they protect the quarterback. So a lot of people think, the quarterbacks are the highest paid in the league. Second to that is the offensive tackles because they've got to protect them, right? So you need people to protect the money. The Blind Side, if you remember that movie, he was an offensive linesman. So they have this protective nature. Their job is to stop the other players getting to the quarterback.
So the biggest job for the Chiefs, obviously in the last playoff game and in the Super Bowl, is protecting Mahomes, who hasn't been fit, and that is, as you say, so critical to the Chiefs' chances because he's still quarterback against quarterback, he's got a couple of links on Hurts, don't you
I
think?
don't know where I said on BackChat. He to this point in his career, he's ticking over Brady at the moment with what he's been able to do. He has the chance to be the greatest of all time. He's got to play for another 20 years.
And he's got to win 7 in total, hasn't he?
Yeah, correct. But he's won 1. I think he has an opportunity to do it again here. He's lost another. I think the Chiefs win. They're underdogs. They're not favourites. I think the Chiefs win. Who do you think?
I'm tipping the Eagles. I think they've been the best team all season. So I thought you might have, a bit like when Eddie Maguire was hosting the Super Bowl all those years ago when Green Bay were paying it. And, of course, he tipped the Packers because Kerry was running the show.
So you're on the Eagles bandwagon?
I think the Eagles can get across the line and their defence will be too good for the Chiefs. The other one that's interesting, Dan, which I saw it on, might have been on one of the betting webs, is the price for instance, the pre-game entertainment. Will Rihanna, what will she sing? Who's going to do the ads, of course, but also the entertainment. There's markets for everything.
What colour the Gatorade is.
Exactly.
It gets thrown on the coach.
Yeah.
What do you reckon that will be? Let's throw one out there. There was options were yellow, orange, red, blue, or clear.
Yeah. Well,
and clear was playing like, I'm going to go clear just in case they get the wrong one and it's water.
Anyway, you can bet on anything. I'll be watching it. You'll be watching it.
I will. So we've got to have a discussion about what we do this weekend because usually we record on a Monday morning.
The problem is that your social life is going to precede anything work-wise because you've got Sunday at the UFC.
Are you going to work today in those shorts or not?
No, I'm not. I'm going to lunch. Then you got UFC. You got the Chili Peppers on Sunday night.
I'm working at the UFC. You are in a private box.
And I'm going to Sting the night before at Kings Park. I might go straight for it. It starts at 7 a.m. or something stupid.
6. I'll see you there.
I'm not getting there then.
Crack a bourbon. No, crack a shelter. 6 a.m. Get it going. So we've got UFC. You got Sting. You got Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, that's you.
And
Super
Bowl. And we're going to fit
the test match is going to be on during the day. I'll just hopefully just be gassed and on.
We're going to fit this shelter FootyCast in somewhere. We're going to bring it to you at the start of next week. We'll see you then. Socials, Shelter FootyCast. Follow us over there. It's the summer of sour thanks to Shelter. FootyCast at shelterbrewing.com.au is our email. You can find it all on our website. YouTube, you know where to watch us. Podcast, you know where to listen to us. Have fun at Sting, Skeeter.
Enjoy Logan Paul, whoever he is. He's in town. He's a TikToker. Giddy up.